Trace your finger around the very bottom of the African continent, like this. Seems like a simple task, right? But in real life, out on the ocean, it's basically the nautical version of entering hard mode in a game. Except you can't rage quit. Every sailor who's ever faced it knew they were in for a storm buffet, unpredictable currents, and a constant sense that the ocean was out to get them. The legendary Cape of Good Hope has a misleadingly cheerful name and a way less cheerful reputation. The story starts back in 1488 with Portuguese explorer Bartholomew Dias. He was the first European to make it around the tip of Africa. When he saw the terrifying storms tossing his ships, he named it the Cape of Storms. But his king, John II of Portugal, decided to rebrand it to the sunnier Cape of Good Hope. Yeah, he wanted to promote it as an optimistic route for merchants and explorers. Plus, the discovery was a good omen that ships from Europe could reach India by sea. But the sailors who actually had to steer through it soon lost all the optimism the name promised. The Cape sits where the Atlantic Ocean and Indian Ocean meet, violently, and the winds there are brutal. They don't just blow in one direction, they flip around, like the world's worst fan setting. In the southern hemisphere winter, June to August, cold fronts from the Atlantic blast through with violent storms. Add some rain, fog, huge waves, or all of the above. If you were a sailor back then, your odds of survival felt closer to winning a chest of gold in some 16th century lottery than actually getting through in one piece. And then there are the currents. The cold Benguela current from the Atlantic slams into the warm Agulhas current from the Indian Ocean. Instead of blending nicely, like a smoothie, they churn up massive chaos and produce rogue waves that can rise higher than a 10-story building. Sailors describe them as walls of water that just show up to ruin your day. With modern equipment, you can survive if you meet them, or better, avoid them. But back in the 1500s, when your technology was a wooden ship and a prayer, one rogue wave could wipe out your entire voyage. And as if the Cape of Good Hope wasn't enough drama, a few miles east, there's the even nastier Cape Agulhas. This spot is the southernmost point of Africa, where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans officially meet. Cape Agulhas has shallow waters with reefs, hidden rocks, and sneaky sandbars that shift around. For centuries, sailors called it a ship graveyard. Historians have counted hundreds of wrecks here, including ships loaded with gold, porcelain, and spices that never reached Europe. The bones of ships still lie under those waves, like a giant warning sign saying, "Don't even try it." Now, if we zoom out to show the broader history, the stats are brutal. Between the 15th and 18th centuries, during the Age of Sail, so many ships sank here that European traders treated the Cape like a terrifying game of odds. You could make a fortune bringing back silk, spices, and jewels from Asia, or you could vanish into the ocean. That's why sailors passed down horror stories like campfire tales, ghost ships haunting the Cape, cursed waters, and there was also the famous legend of the Flying Dutchman, doomed to sail around the Cape forever. Navigating all this before GPS, satellites, or weather forecasts in a creaky wooden ship with no compass and some half-reliable maps was almost impossible. With no ports nearby to duck into for shelter, the sailors were all alone out there, sort of like playing hide-and-seek in a thunderstorm while blindfolded. Historians note that many of these brave folks regularly got blown off course or smashed into rocks they didn't even know existed. So, eventually, someone came up with a better idea. Let's dig a shortcut. In 1869, the Suez Canal opened in Egypt. It connected the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. Ships traveling between Europe and Asia didn't have to play the Cape's stormy lottery anymore. Using the canal reduced the voyage from the Arabian Sea to London by some 5,500 miles. Today, the canal handles 12 to 15% of global trade. That means millions of containers, tankers, and cargo ships take the safe shortcut instead of risking the so-called Cape of Storms. Now, there's another, less famous danger zone too, Cape Corrientes in Mozambique. Portuguese sailors dreaded it in the 1500s and called it a ship-eating monster. Its name literally means Cape of Currents, because the water there rushes with insane force, strong enough to throw ships off course and onto the shore. Historians estimate that up to 30% of Portuguese ships sailing the India route were lost there. So even before they reached the Cape of Good Hope, they could already be sinking. Now, let's not forget the economics. Sailing around Africa wasn't just risky, it was expensive. More days at sea meant more food, more water, and more exhausted crews. Losing ships to storms was costing millions of dollars in today's money. Insurance companies dreaded covering voyages around the Cape because the odds of having to pay out a claim were so bad. When the Suez Canal opened, it wasn't just about saving time, it was about cutting the cost of disasters. Even today, with modern radar, weather forecasts, and GPS, rounding the Cape isn't a walk in the park. Of course not, it's water. Anyways, cargo ships that try to avoid canal fees or blockages, like the infamous traffic jam in 2021, still face monster waves and storms. Technology can predict the weather, but it can't stop the ocean from throwing a tantrum. Every captain who rounds the Cape today still knows they're passing through one of the most dangerous maritime zones on Earth. Yet another zone most ship captains choose to avoid is the roaring 40s and furious 50s in the Southern Ocean. That's between 40 and 50 degrees south latitude. Unlike the Northern Hemisphere, where continents break the flow, down here there's nothing but ocean. It's an endless highway for storms with no speed limit. Sailors gave this zone its dramatic nickname because when you're here, the wind doesn't whisper, it screams. Scientists have confirmed that these roaring winds can hit speeds up to 125 miles per hour. And screaming winds mean screaming seas. Waves in the roaring 40s can reach heights that make skyscrapers jealous, smashing against ship hulls with the force of a battering ram. Historically, clipper ships braved these waters to shave time off their voyages between Europe and Asia, but they paid the price with torn sails, broken masts, and sometimes entire crews swallowed whole by the sea. Even today, modern vessels avoid the 40s unless they have no choice. There are safer paths, routes that might take longer but aren't this risky. The 40s and 50s sure sound scary, but wait until the ocean tightens its grip in the Drake Passage. This narrow strip of water between Cape Horn and Antarctica is the gladiator arena of the seas. The entire Pacific Ocean is trying to squeeze through a gap only 500 miles wide and collides head-on with the Atlantic. Add the southern ocean currents, among the strongest on Earth, and you've got a recipe for chaos. The Drake doesn't just throw waves at you, it throws walls of water up to 50 feet high. Ships here don't ride the ocean, they cling to survival, like toys tossed in a washing machine on the highest spin cycle. The reason it's so brutal is pure physics. With no landmasses in the Southern Ocean to slow down wind or current, the Antarctic circumpolar current races around the globe. When it slams through the narrow funnel of the Drake, it accelerates like a jet engine. Storms roll in uninvited, and icebergs drift lazily into shipping lanes, ready to take a ship down any moment. Even experienced sailors describe the Drake as unpredictable. It's calm one moment, chaos the next. Historians note that before the Panama Canal opened in 1914, every ship heading from the Atlantic to the Pacific had to pass through here, and countless ones never made it. Today, cruise liners and research ships still brave the passage to reach Antarctica, but with enough seasickness bags to remind passengers that they're not on a pleasure cruise. They're crossing one of the most dangerous ocean stretches on the planet.
The floor is lava! Haha, just kidding. But honestly, it's kind of falling apart. You might not feel it yet, but a huge part of North America has already lost 37 miles worth of rock from its foundation. And no, this isn't about earthquakes or giant sinkholes. It's about the continent losing pieces of the very thing that keeps the ground from wobbling around like a bad carnival ride. A team of researchers has just dropped a geological bombshell. Part of North America's ground is thinning out like a very sad, very slow ice cream drip. How do they know? They basically gave Earth a high-tech full-body MRI and created 3D maps showing how rocks once considered indestructible are now melting away into the planet's guts, like an upside-down cheese pizza inside an oven. But to really understand this mess, you first have to meet my old friends, cratons. Cratons are like the roots of the continents. They're thick, tough, and ancient. We're talking billions of years old. These bad boys survived meteor impacts, supervolcanoes, and even the tectonic movement of plates. If the plates got into fistfights, for example, you can bet we would see mountain ranges being born. If they got a divorce, drifting apart from each other, then a whole new ocean would be born. All of these things leave scars on the surface of Earth, but the cratons seem to always remain unfazed, like the cockroaches of geology. And since a craton can basically get punched in the face and feel nothing, scientists always assumed these things were nearly indestructible. But then, a group of researchers took their fancy machines to the test and realized that, wait, the cratons are falling apart? How? Enter the Farallon Plate, a really ancient tectonic plate that started to slide under North America's major plate over 100 million years ago. This is a pretty normal process, actually. It's called subduction, and it's how Earth recycles rocks and keeps itself from overheating. This subduction thing has been happening for so long that, by now, the Farallon is almost 400 miles away from the craton, sitting pretty chill at the lower mantle, weirdly close to the outer core of our planet. But the Farallon has been causing trouble, like that one roommate who moved out but keeps leaving weird stuff in the fridge. You see, as it sinks, it tugs on the bottom of North America's foundation, stretching it out and causing pieces to fall off into the deep mantle. And if that wasn't enough drama, the sinking Farallon has also leaked water and carbon dioxide into the surrounding rocks, making the craton even softer and easier to shred apart. Thanks, Farallon. Very cool of you. By studying hundreds of earthquakes across thousands of monitoring stations, scientists have confirmed the story. Big chunks of continental material are dripping downward, thinning the craton by as much as 37 miles. That's more missing rocks than can fit into a milk carton. Sounds dramatic, right? But don't worry. This is happening at a snail's pace. It'll take millions of years for anything noticeable to happen. Your great-great-great-great few grandkids from the distant future might still be standing on solid ground. But don't get too comfy. This thing may not be an urgent problem, but there's another type of sinking that's happening faster than you can say, "Help." Here's the thing. By 2050, at least 32 major cities in the US, including New York, Baltimore, and Charleston, could be partially underwater. And guess what? This one is mostly our fault. Scientists noticed that since 2007, some cities have been sinking into the ground between 0.04 and 0.08 inches every year. Charleston, in South Carolina, is pulling ahead in the worst way possible, sinking 0.15 inches annually. Sure, these numbers sound tiny and a bit ridiculous, but Charleston is barely 9 feet above sea level, and a little sinking goes a long way when the ocean is breathing down your neck. On really bad flood days, people there have to abandon their cars and basically swim home. This whole phenomenon is called land subsidence, and when you mix sinking land with rising sea levels, you get a disaster cocktail of flooded streets, salty farmland, ghost forests, and a lot of very cranky homeowners. And it doesn't stop with just homes. Infrastructure like bridges, roads, airports, and power plants, all things we rely on daily, are also at risk of serious damage. Flooded electrical grids and sunken highways could cause billions more in economic losses and create major safety hazards for communities. Now, let's be fair. Not everything is humanity's fault. Some of this trouble dates all the way back to the Ice Age. About 12,000 years ago, massive ice sheets covered the northern US. They were heavy, like seriously heavy. The weight pushed the land down, and when the ice melted, the ground didn't just pop back up like a trampoline. Instead, it started playing a weird game of geological seesaw. The places that were squished started rising, and the places that weren't got pulled down. This whole process, called glacial isostatic adjustment, try to say that 3 times fast. But of course, humans found a way to make it worse. Groundwater extraction is a major culprit. Think of it like pulling the stuff out of the mattress. After a while, the whole thing just sags. In places like California's Central Valley, the land is dropping by up to 8 inches a year because we keep pumping out water during droughts. In cities like New York, the problem isn't just water. Skyscrapers themselves are making it worse. Yep, turns out if you stack millions of tons of concrete and steel onto soft ground, it tends to flatten. And in case you're wondering, the total mass of New York City's buildings is around 1.68 trillion pounds. That's about the same as 3.5 million statues of liberty piled up. With so much weight concentrated over a relatively small area, the underlying soils have no choice but to compress over time. And if you thought it couldn't get messier, think again. We've been building dams, which stop rivers from delivering fresh sediment to coastal areas. That sediment is kind of like Mother Nature's way of fluffing the ground back up. Without it, coastal lands are compacting like an old sponge. Plus, when wetlands are drained for agriculture or construction, the peaty soil dries out and collapses. Honestly, it's like the ground just can't catch a break. Scientists also noticed that the areas that used to be lush wetlands are now among the fastest sinking spots in the country, especially along the Gulf Coast. Louisiana, for example, is losing about a football field of land because of this mix of subsidence and rising seas. So what's the end game here for us regular people who just want to live above sea level? Well, it's not looking great. Ghost forests, which are basically drowned woodlands, are popping up. Farmland is turning salty and unusable. And even sunny day flooding, where streets flood without any rain, is becoming a thing. Yikes! Meanwhile, over on the West Coast, California is not exactly winning either. San Francisco and Los Angeles are both sinking, which means that rising sea levels could hit them twice as hard and twice as fast. In some places like the Palos Verdes Peninsula, the ground has been sinking so fast, people over there might as well live like moles. So, is America turning into the next Atlantis? Probably not next week, but without serious action, like cutting back on groundwater pumping and planning smarter cities, at least 500,000 people are in serious danger. And the housing damage could easily rack up a jaw-dropping $109 billion by 2050. In the end, while North America isn't about to sink like a poorly made souffle, it's definitely showing some cracks in the crust. So maybe let's ease up on groundwater pumping, rethink how and where we build, and invest a little more in keeping our feet dry. After all, if the floor really does become lava someday, we're gonna wish we had at least fixed the leaks first.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.